Nawalan ng tatlong anak, asawa, mama, papa, anak ng kapatid ko, dalawang anak ng pinsan ko, tsaka mama ng pinsan ko. Magkasama kami sa bubong. Gumuho yung bubong. Nahulog kami lahat. Nanon kami. Apat lang kami nakasurvive. Yung asawa ko. Patay na.
Napakabigat nung nangyari sa ng Tino. Unfortunately, the casualty count is very high. Madami tayong deaths that we have suffered.
An outbreak of Rift Valley fever in Mauritania and Senegal killed 42 people and infected more than 400 between September 20th and October 30th, the World Health Organization said on Wednesday. In Mauritania, 200 animals have tested positive for the virus and 176 in Senegal. Rift Valley fever is a mosquito-borne virus that primarily affects animals. However, it can also be directly transmitted to humans through the airborne bodily fluids of infected animals. In the most severe human infections, the disease can progress to hemorrhagic fever and encephalitis and lead to death. Rift Valley fever also has a significant economic impact on agricultural communities due to death and abortion among infected livestock. While vaccines are available for animals, none have yet been licensed for the use in human populations.
This is all tragic. Not just today, but the past 35 years have been a tragedy and there is no end.
We've not had a state for a long time now. This is one criminal organization which has its own army wing, those people in uniforms. What can I say? A completely surreal situation. Two Serbias that will not reconcile for the next 20 to 50 years.
No international candidate. That's a line many foreign graduates keep running into during their job search in the US. Well, recent foreign graduates find that most companies won't even give them a chance to interview once they find out that their need for a work visa is required. Well, Trump's new $100,000 H-1B visa fees is making recruiters wary. Getting a job with the American firm to sponsor a work visa used to be the obvious choice for the world's top students. Many are now in a precarious position. They are unable to find work once companies find out that they aren't American citizens. And the biggest private employer in the United States, Walmart, last month said it was temporarily halting job offers to individuals who needed H-1B visas. Ishan Chauhan, an Indian student, told Bloomberg, "It doesn't matter if you went to the best university or you have the best GPA or you did the best internships, you can still fail." He added that the question was always up to would you now or in the future need a sponsorship, and that sort of just ends the conversation itself. Now, according to the Institute of International Education, there are about 1.1 million overseas students attending American institutions. Many people in the US view education as an investment that could lead to a successful job in fields such as banking, technology, research or consulting. However, businesses are less willing to sponsor work permits for overseas students, and that is mainly because of Trump's tighter immigration policies in place. So that raises an important question. Will US MBA courses win or lose with Trump's H-1B reforms? The $100,000 tag is starting to weigh on companies' willingness to sponsor. And the government shutdown is now officially the longest in American history. It just broke the previous records, which was also under Donald Trump, 35 days. And at this time, the US is 6 weeks in. And the president is calling Democrats kamikaze, saying they're ready to crash the country to win a fight over healthcare funding.
I think they will. I think they're kamikaze pilots. I just got back from Japan. I talked about the kamikaze pilots. I think these guys are kamikaze. They'll take down the country if they have to.
Federal agencies have been grinding to a halt since funding expired on September 30th. Roughly 1.4 million federal workers are either furloughed or working without pay. Now, this includes air traffic controllers, TSA officers, park wardens and also courts. Some courts say that they're operating on emergency funds, and even those operations may slow down if this continues. Airports get hit hard next. The Trump administration has finalized a new emergency order that forces U.S. airlines to cut flights, starting with a 4% reduction on Friday and rising to 10% from November 14th. The directive is aimed at stretching limited air traffic control capacity as the shutdown continues to starve the system of staffing. Of course, U.S. carriers will be forced to cancel up to 1,800 flights a day, equal to about 268,000 seats daily, once the 10% cuts kick in. Now, this comes right before the busy travel season. The AAA says 5.3 million passengers flew domestically over Thanksgiving weekend 2023, and last year was forecast at 5.7 million. More than 60,000 air traffic controllers and TSA officers are currently working without pay, and absenteeism could snarl terminals. Apart from SNAP, the shutdown is also hitting multiple other fronts. Programs like WIC, which supports new mothers and infants, are on the brink. Head Start centers serving 65,000 children have been shut over the weekend. The ongoing shutdown is crippling public services nationwide. Air travel is also being disrupted, with long delays at JFK, Newark and LaGuardia Airport due to short-staffed control towers. More than 3.2 million airline passengers have had disruptions or cancellations since the shutdown on October 1st. This figure might rise to more than 10 million if the closure continues through Thanksgiving. Taxpayer services and national parks are among the government functions feeling the strain. Some agencies have implemented a sort of rolling blackout of services to conserve funds and respond only to emergencies. Over 2 million federal workers lost their paychecks last week, and while troops got their paychecks on Friday, the Pentagon says funds could dry up by mid-November. The core fight this time: health insurance subsidies. Democrats say no vote to reopen government until expiring insurance subsidies are extended to keep coverage affordable for millions. Meanwhile, the Republicans say reopen first, negotiate later. A small bipartisan group has floated one compromise framework, but leadership on both sides isn't moving.
The only way to move forward with a bipartisan negotiation is for the president to get off the sidelines and get in the game so we can reopen the government, enact a bipartisan spending agreement, and decisively address the Republican health care crisis.
The White House even floated cancelling food aid programs, SNAP, used by 42 million Americans. Courts blocked that, and officials say that they're fully complying and trying to get partial payments out. But the threat still rattled families. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Take a look.
The U.S. government shutdown is now hitting air travel. The FAA has ordered a 10% cut in flights at nearly 40 major airports, including New York, Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles, starting Friday unless Congress strikes a deal to reopen the government. The move comes amid staffing shortages as thousands of air traffic controllers and TSA officers work without pay, raising safety and scheduling concerns. Airlines like Delta, United, and Southwest are already preparing to cancel hundreds of flights, prioritizing long-haul and international routes while trimming shorter domestic ones. For passengers, that means fewer available seats, higher fares, and longer delays just as the holiday travel season begins. The White House has warned that if the shutdown drags on, the impact could extend to airport security, maintenance, and even international flight operations. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION, World is One.
Airports in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago are among 40 of the busiest across the U.S., where flights will be cut starting Friday due to the government shutdown. That's according to a list distributed to the airlines and obtained by the Associated Press. The Federal Aviation Administration announced Wednesday that it would reduce air traffic by 10% across 40 high-volume markets to maintain travel safety. The affected airports also include Atlanta, Denver, Dallas, Orlando, Miami, and San Francisco. The FAA is imposing the flight reductions to relieve pressure on air traffic controllers who are working without pay during the government shutdown and have been increasingly calling out of work. Controllers have already missed one full paycheck and are scheduled to receive nothing next week if the shutdown drags on. Airlines said they would try to minimize the impact on customers, some of whom will see weekend travel plans disrupted with little notice. United Airlines said it would focus the cuts on smaller regional routes that use smaller planes. United, Delta Airlines, and American Airlines said they would offer refunds to passengers who opt not to fly, even if they purchase tickets that aren't normally refundable.
The Supreme Court is allowing President Donald Trump's administration to enforce a policy blocking transgender and non-binary people from choosing passport sex markers that align with their gender identity. Thursday's decision is Trump's latest win on the High Court's emergency docket and means his Republican administration can enforce the policy while a lawsuit over it plays out. The decision halts a lower court order requiring the government to keep letting people choose male, female, or X on their passport to line up with their gender identity. Trump argues the president has the authority to set rules on government documents. Transgender people say the change puts them at risk.
Well, Google is pushing the frontiers of artificial intelligence, and it's now heading to an unexpected location.
Well, documents reviewed by Reuters show the tech giant is planning to build a major AI data center on Australia's Christmas Island, a remote outpost in the Indian Ocean 350 kilometers south of Indonesia.
Well, details on cost, size and the full purpose of the data center remain classified, but strategically it's catching everyone's attention, with defense experts saying that Christmas Island is becoming a critical frontline for Australia, offering a key point to monitor Chinese naval and submarine activity in the Indian Ocean. Google is now in advanced talks to lease land near the airport and is working with a local mining company to secure power for the facility. The project is also linked to Australia's defence cloud deal with Google, signed earlier this year. Also in a related move, Google has applied to build a sub-sea cable that connects Christmas Island to Darwin, where US Marines rotate in for 6 months each year. Local residents, long used to limited jobs and patchy internet, are divided. Some see economic benefits, others worry the island could very much become a strategic target. For now, Google and Australia's Defence Department have declined to comment on this remote island in the Indian Ocean. Tech, data and defence are intersecting in a new frontier. And Beirut has accused Israel of rejecting diplomacy as Israeli military continued to strike targets in Lebanon. Israeli army released video footage of what it said were airstrikes on Hezbollah's infrastructure in southern Lebanon. Earlier, the Israeli army issued evacuation orders for several locations, saying that Hezbollah was trying to rebuild its military capabilities over there. Lebanon's President Joseph Aoun denounced the new attacks as a full-fledged crime. In a cabinet session, Aoun said that negotiations are the only way to end the near-daily Israeli attacks and accused Israel of rejecting Beirut's overtures towards diplomacy. The Lebanese military also claimed that Israel is preventing the full implementation of a ceasefire deal with Hezbollah. The truce deal was agreed between Israel and Hezbollah in November 2024 after more than a year of hostilities. But Israeli attacks in Lebanon have continued as it accuses the group of trying to rebuild its forces. Israeli army tanks also took positions near the border with Lebanon. The attacks came hours after Hezbollah lashed out at Lebanon's leadership, rejecting suggestions that it might be time to begin direct talks with Israel. In an open letter to the Lebanese people and their leaders, Hezbollah said that it rejected any political negotiations between Lebanon and Israel, and that such talks would not serve the national interest. Well, the idea that Bitcoin eases pressure on the US dollar is subject to ongoing debate among economists and political figures with no universal consensus. However, on Wednesday, Trump once again insisted that Bitcoin has assisted in easing the pressure on the dollar among the many other advantages of the OG token. While referring to Bitcoin, Trump at the America Business Forum in Miami, Florida, said it takes a lot of pressure off the dollar, it does a lot of good things, and we're into it. However, contrary to Trump's claims, it's not always the case. Bitcoin does not reliably ease pressure on the dollar. Rather, the token's relationship is intricate and can exhibit contradictions. Sometimes a robust dollar can exert pressure on Bitcoin, while at other moments the growing acceptance of crypto alleviates some dollar pressure. Bitcoin at best can act as an alternative during higher volatility in the foreign market. Now, some view Bitcoin as a potential alternative to the dollar that could relieve economic pressures. However, most economists consider crypto's effect on the dollar's global standing to be minimal and indirect. Bitcoin and other dollar-priced assets see their demand fall as the greenback gains in value. Now, that is similar to gold, where recent market activity also suggests an increase in Bitcoin and gold bets at the cost of the dollar. Analysts have called the trend debasement trend. Trump also found new love for cryptos. The president said, "We're making the United States the Bitcoin superpower, the crypto capital of the world, and the undisputed leader in artificial intelligence." But Trump's claims feel far more self-serving than the broader good for the dollar or the United States.